Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, time for another one of your patented overreaction shows where we talk about the offense and then Tony tells us whether Ohio State should just cancel the season because they're just going to go 0-12 or whether the rest of the college football world should cancel the season because Ohio State is an unstoppable 16-0 juggernaut that cannot be stopped. Tony, which one is it? Or do we need to let people wait till the end of the show?
We can go right now, 18-0. Good night, everybody. So,
Take that, Mercury Morris.
yeah, pop that champagne. Tom, we did a show where I overreacted to the first 2 days seeing the defense. Now, this show is probably going to air after day 3, but it's still just based on the first 2 days. And one of the things that I'm going to overreact, the fun stuff is the stuff that I'm overreacting to, you're going to downplay, but then see it and have to apologize for downplaying it. So I like the timing of this one, the juxtaposition of timing and opinions and overreactions, underreactions, and then the mea culpa coming from you, or the ua culpa, I guess it would be. And it's going to be fascinating theater.
I like the idea that this is theater because as you were saying that, I was thinking of like those, the theater masks that they have where it's like the one is the laughing face and the one is the sad face. And it's like doing the YouTuber face with me with one side is like, one side is me go, and that's me overreacting or underreacting to your overreactions, whether I was correct or you were correct.
Well, thank you for giving me the image for the thumbnail. My first overreaction is, Tom, I think Isaiah West is going for 1,000 yards this year. Now, he was running with the ones on Friday, practice 2. Who knows what he's going to be doing, practice 3 or whatever. But not just because he's running with the ones. He looks really, really sharp, really, really fast, big, nimble. Now, you're going to say, but Tony, there's no tackling and there's no pads. And I will say, that's your opinion. But I will also remind people, you had him at like 750 or 800 yards this season. So do you even think this is an overreaction at this point?
I simultaneously think that we don't have enough information to make any kind of real material change to our baseline expectations for this season, because as you correctly mentioned and then tried to disprove later, there is no tackling and there is no pads, and the camp setting and the early, the June camp setting where you're not tackling guys to the ground, or the early fall camp setting where you're not tackling guys to the ground, is a notoriously difficult time to evaluate running backs. That being said, we've had people on our board for basically since we launched sort of saying like, okay, what's the deal with Isaiah West? Why do you guys keep talking about Isaiah West? And it's like, because people keep talking to us about Isaiah West. People in the building keep talking to us about Isaiah West. And that, yeah, Bo Jackson had a great freshman season. There are big expectations for Bo Jackson, but Isaiah West. And my general trend on all of these is I generally tend to be a little on the low side with some of the projections, because it's like, this is the time of year that everyone goes, yeah, everyone's going to throw for 5,000 yards and run for 3,000 yards. And the receivers are all going to have 2,000 yards and they're all going to score 57 touchdowns. And it's going to be the best yearbook ever. And it's like, that's not typically how these seasons work. There are going to be some people who exceed your expectations and some who don't. Isaiah West is someone I am firmly prepared to have exceed my expectations this year. And he's someone who I already have expectations that are probably out of alignment with what we saw on the field last year. And that's just, again, based on what we keep hearing about him.
We talked a bit about it, I think a day or so ago on the Buckeye Insiders message board, which if you want to talk Ohio State football, we're doing it there all the time. Great community, a not a hostile community, I will also say. But the question was posed, like, what % chance do you give Isaiah West to lead the team in rushing? And I said, this is after practice 1. I'm like, 30? Leaving today, it's not 30 anymore. It's more than that. I'm not saying it's 50-50, but the the idea of a Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins thing, 100%. Now, don't talk to Carlos Loughlin about that, saying, "Hey, do you have another 1-2 punch?" Because he will remind you, "I got this guy, I got that guy, I got this guy, I got that guy." There's no 1-2. There's 1-2-3-4-5. So don't even, if you see him, if you're at practice one of these days, don't even mention it to him. But the idea that you got these two guys, either one could lead the team into rushing any particular day, either one could start any particular day. But the thing that I've been saying to Juck these last few days as well, and to you as well, I think it's not necessarily who leads the team in rushing that is the thing to make the most note of. It's who leads in carries. That's the guy that is, I think that's the real separator. If somebody has to do it, that was Quinshon Judkins in 2024. They both went for 1,000 yards. I don't think you could say what Travion Henderson did was taking a back seat.
No, Travion Henderson, I mean, you go back through the absolute highlights of that year, and Travion Henderson was a big part of a whole lot of them. You know, he had that long touchdown against Oregon. He had the long touchdown on the screen against Texas. And then Quinshon Judkins, he had his big day in the national championship game. Like that is a year where you cannot tell the story of that year, even just that postseason run, without those two guys. Those two guys were crucial, huge parts of both of those, you know, all three of those games during that run, you know, not even including the Tennessee game. And I think Travion had a touchdown in the Tennessee game too, if I remember correctly.
Long
or had a
one,
hurdle.
like
yeah,
like 30 yards or something like
yeah.
that.
So, you know, you can't tell the story of that run to the national championship without either of those guys. And I think it's going to be probably something similar to this. This was, I think there was a separate thread about this a couple days ago on the board at BuckeyeInsiders.com. And someone asked, you know, the percent chance that Isaiah West starts game one. And I said, I don't really care who starts game one, but the percent chance that he has more carries in game one, I think, or more yards in game one, I think I was at about 35, maybe 40% at that point. And I nothing has happened since then to dissuade me from, you know, having that number sort of stay where it is, or, you know, maybe tick up a little bit more.
Tom, my second overreaction here, and brace yourself, like buckle in. I think Ohio State has a second first round pick to go along with Jeremiah Smith right now, and his name is Devin McCuin. And we did our Devin McCuin expectation shows, or we're talking about other receivers, and we're like, you know, maybe just you've got like 3 or 4 guys that are going to be between like 25 and 35 receptions, including him. And I'd have to go through my notebook to find all of the projections. But what I have seen these first 2 days has been all of the spring practices that we've talked about with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jeremiah Smith and Garrett Wilson, just like lighting everybody up, catching everything, doing all kinds of insane stuff. That's what Devin McCuin has done the first 2 days. The first day, he looked good. Second day, he looked incredible. And he's making contested catches over the middle. He's making contested catches in the end zone. He's getting open. He had one catch where he's going over the middle, goes way up high for it. He's 6 foot, but he went up and got it. It immediately evaded a tackler with a spin move and then kicked it into gear. And it was like, if that's Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave or Jackson Smith and Jigba, it's like, I believe it, because they've done those same things. And so I am way, way, way in on Devin McCuin being, shoot, 1,000-yarder. Like, I'm not saying he's 1,600 or whatever. I'm just saying, based on what I've seen these first few days, if I'm going to be asked to overreact, Jeremiah Smith has a running mate.
So if Devin McCuin gets 1,000 yards receiving this season, and Devin McCuin is a first round or first round adjacent wide receiver in the NFL draft, top 45, 50 picks, whatever, somewhere in that range, what does that mean for the Ohio State offense this year?
Boy, that means
that feels like that was like one of our big questions, is who else is there? And I'm not, without having seen it, I'm pumping the brakes on this one a little bit. But what does that mean for the offense if he is playing at that level.
with because some of the stuff is coming out of the play action, and there's
Mhm.
no safety over the top to help. So it's like he's getting open one on one routinely. He's also finding the open zones, and if that continues with an improved running game, I the schedule is still going to be very difficult though. So
Right.
like you give them last year's schedule, and you can start being talking all of these grandiose things, but if he can be that guy, then this offense really like what's the weakness?
Yeah, that's kind of my question because going into even over the summer, that was kind of my big lingering question mark with the offense was I think the offensive line, they're going to figure it out. I think Julian Sain's going to be better. I think the running backs are going to be better. I think the tight ends are going to be perfectly fine. You know what Jeremiah Smith is, and
Mm.
it's just you got to find one more guy who is, you're not looking for another Jeremiah Smith. You're looking for another guy who can at least make opponents have someone else they got to worry about in the passing game other than Jeremiah Smith. If you can check that box, then it's like you're really getting down to complaints about the temperature of your wine fridge on your yacht. Like, I mean, yeah, that's a problem, but I mean, that's not really, as far as problems go, that's not really too bad. If you have another wide receiver who is in that 1,000 yard top round 2 rounds of the NFL draft kind of conversation, boy, that checks one of the big boxes that I have kind of open right now for the offense. And again, Tony's saying this, kind of want to see it. I want to see it on Saturday, but go back to the intro of the show when Tony's saying, you know, this is going to get released. By the time you hear this, I may already be on board. I don't know. I'm being the voice of reason here once
Mhm,
again,
mhm.
saying I kind of want to see it, but I have heard the tales, Tony, from those who have been there that there may be some happenings afoot there in the at the Z position.
I did like how you tried to slip in the voice of reason once again, the second time ever. Once again, so, I mean, technically you're correct, but
That's the best kind of correct to be. Go on. What's your third one?
well, let me just finish, on the first round thing. People are saying, "Well, he's too small, this and that." He's listed as 6'1", 195. Over the last 5 years, 26 wide receivers have been drafted in the first round. The average height, 6 foot and a half. The average weight, 197 pounds.
So
So,
if he can just grow a half an inch and 2 pounds,
right. And if you grow the right pounds, you got the inch right there. I will also say 11 guys 6 foot and under of those 26 have been first rounders. So definitely now this is way out. This is way overreacting because I know if he ends up with like 16 catches this year, this show will be deleted from the internet. It'll be the only thing that will ever be able to remove from the internet. But he's been really, really good these first 2 days. Last thing, I think the tight ends this year are going to be better than the tight ends last year. And that's through like we're not seeing anybody get mauled in the running game, but it just they've got they've no they play 5 different guys running with the ones on day 2, and I know the old saying if you've got 5 tight ends you ain't got one, but they're deep. I asked Nate Roberts if he thinks they could be deeper this year. He said yeah, this year than last year. He said he thinks they will be. I said, are you more versatile? He's like, oh yeah, this group is way more versatile than it was last year. So I think there's some different things that you can do with that Arthur Smith and Ryan Day and Keenan Bailey and all those guys can do. So I don't even know how much of an overreaction this is, although you did have 2 NFL draft picks at tight end last year.
yeah, they had and that's a really like an outlier tight end class to have 2 guys drafted off your team as tight ends in one season. So that this is another one where I'm a believer in the tight ends this year. And I think, Nate Roberts is the guy that I am expecting to take a big step this year. I saw that Hunter Welsing was named to the Mackey Award
Mm.
watch list. And I thought, do they know something, or are they just sort of looking and going, well, he did some stuff at Northwestern and now he's playing at a school that's on TV in bigger places. So maybe he's a guy who has not been able to stay healthy. When he was on the field last year, we saw him against Michigan. He had 4 catches for 80 something yards against Michigan in that game they played at Wrigley Field last year. And you watch that, you're like, man, if he could do this every game, then then he'd be a 1,000-yard receiver at tight end. Now, has he done that every game? No. In fact, that was his career high. So, and this is his 7th season of college football. So you kind of want to see it on a consistent basis. And he didn't do a ton this spring, but the passing game on the whole this spring was a little wonky and just kind of rickety at times, which that happens in the spring. That was one of the things that we were telling you, don't overreact to the fact that the passing game looks a little wonky in the spring, because the passing game always looks a little wonky in the spring. This is one where I want to see it. Was there anything that you've seen in terms of Welsing or Mason Williams or Nate Roberts or any of the other guys that jumped out to you just from the on-field portion of it?
Well, and here's the thing. As I'm going through my notes, and I take all kinds of notes as I'm watching these practices, and then I throw them on the Buckeye Insiders message board. So if you want to see them, become a member and you'll see all of this stuff. But as I'm going through there, it's just like 86 with a nice catch, 84 with a good grab in traffic, 83 with the ones. And it's just like, oh yeah, I remember that. And that's why you take notes, folks. But yeah, like they're making catches. Now, no catch and run necessarily at this point, but they're catching the ball over the middle in traffic and getting, tackled or tapped or whatever. And first down, move the chains. That's all you need, really. And then when the running backs are looking good, so I think it's okay to give the tight end some credit there as well. And, they're running under center quite a bit at this point, and they're showing the physicality that is necessary. And maybe I'm the only person in this year of the tight end that thinks the tight ends are going to be okay. But yeah, just going through my notes, it's like, oh yeah, he had that and he did that and he did that. So yeah, they've been making some plays.
All right. So yeah, I will keep an eye on that on Saturday and see. I am expecting some good production out of the tight ends this year. And some of that is really, some of the tight end production may be dialed back a little bit if they do have 2 really good wide receivers and you do have 2 really good running backs, because then you get into a situation where, well, if you've got 2,000-yard running backs, as you just sort of more or less said they were going to have,
That's right.
and you have 2,000-yard wide receivers, as you more or less just said they would have, there's only so many snaps and so many passes and so many receptions to go around with the rest of the team. But yeah, that would be. I am expecting whatever opportunities the tight ends have this year for them to be able to take advantage of them to whatever whatever degree they're available.
Even Brody Lennon had like a 25-yard touchdown down the seam, running with the 2s, 3s, and 1s, and they're just rotating. So those are my overreactions. Look, if all of these are crazy, like I'm not doing this for me unless I get it right. Then I'm like, yeah, look what I did. I'm mainly doing this for the people to have an idea of basically what players to get mad at when they don't live up to the expectations. So I apologize for feeding into the furor. That was not my intent. I was just wanting to talk about some guys that I had watched and thought, you know what? I think there's a possibility here. So forgive me for thinking players, the student athletes today have possibilities. Am I wrong for that? If I'm wrong for that, then I don't want to be right. What I would like for everybody else to do is hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, 5-star rating and review on the audio side. And of course, as we've been saying, come find us at BuckeyeInsiders.com. Would absolutely love to see you there. That will do it from here. Next time you'll see us, we'll be at practice again. So subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Buckeye Insiders, and we will see you all at those places. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.